So I'm just gonna re-go over A before we start on B. Okay, so what we're doing is we're trying to find x. So our step one would be to write the equation. Okay, so our a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And what I would do is I would then go and write, okay, so this side, this side is c. And it doesn't really matter, this one can be a and this one can be b for today. So I am then going to do step two and plug the information I know. So what I would do is I would probably write, okay, so I have a equals 6 and b equals 8. And my c is going to equal x because I have no idea what it is. Okay, so then I'm going to go, so I have this as 1, 2. I am then going to plug the information that I just found, because it's all from this given triangle, into my equation. Okay, so I'm going to have 6 squared plus 8 squared is going to give me my c squared. So what squared means is it is times by itself. So if we take a look and we have 6 squared, what that's going to mean is 6 times 6, okay? And then when we have 8 squared, what that means is we have 8 times 8, okay? So there is a squared button on your calculator which you can use, so you put the 6 and then the squared and you'll get your answer, okay? So I'm gonna have, we have 36 here, and then we have 64 here. So when I do my calculations, sorry. So when I do my calculations, I am then going to get 36 plus 64 is going to give me c squared, okay? And then 36 plus 64 gives me 100 equals c squared. Now, the way we have to get rid of this squared, because we need to find what c is without it, right? So what we do is this thing called square root. So the square root you'll see as a button on your calculator that kind of looks like this. Okay, so what that does is it gets rid of the square on this side, and then it would change this number as a square root. Okay, so it's the opposite of this. So when we take a look at opposites, we're talking about, so when I say addition, the opposite is subtraction. When I say multiplication, the opposite is division. So when I say squared, the opposite is square root. Okay? So then if we take a look at this, what we're going to do is we are going to then square root both sides. So I'm going to square root my 100, and I am going to square root my c squared. Because whatever I do to my one side, I have to do to the other, and I want to get c alone. Okay, so then when we square root, so all you have to do is click in your calculator 100 square roots. We are going to get 10. And that gets rid of our 2 here. Okay, so c is equal to 10. So our x equals 10 meters. And so now we're going to do b. Okay, so b is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to have to rearrange the equation. So if we take a look at b, okay, we are going to draw it. This is a right angle. We have our y here, our 13 centimeters on this side, and our 5 centimeters here. So when we look at this, okay, we are no longer trying to find c, because c is our hypotenuse, which is our longest side. Okay, so we automatically know that that's c. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to label this one b and this one a. So we are now trying to find a. Okay, so I'm going to write my equation. So my step one is to write the equation. So I have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But now I'm trying to find a. Okay, So what I'm going to have to do to get a on the one side by itself, I am going to do a minus b squared on this side and a minus b squared on this side, because whatever I do to the one side, I have to do to the other, right? And by doing that, it crosses this out and our minus b squared is on this side. So we now rewrite it as a squared equals c squared minus b squared. And I can now find a. So I'm going to do what I did last time, and I'm going to write over here. So my a equals y. We don't know what this is. My b equals 5. And my c equals 13. So I can now plug this information in to my equation. So I now have a squared, so my y squared equals my c squared, so 13 squared minus my b squared, and then my y squared equals 13 squared is going to give me 169, and 5 squared, when I put that in my calculator, gives me 25. Because remember, when we put it in our calculator, we can literally put it in our calculator as that, and it'll give us the answer. But what this squared means is it means 13 times 13, and 5 times 5. Okay, so then when I do that, I get 144. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the square root. So this button in our calculator, I'm going to square root both sides. Because square rooting both sides means it gets rid of this squared. Okay, and when I put that in my calculator, so y is alone now, so I get y, 144 to the square root gives me 12. So my y right here is equal to 12 centimeters. And don't forget to write centimeters afterwards, okay? So now you guys are gonna practice on your own. You guys have a sheet there, and I want you to try to go through as many questions as you can.